YouTube, Jose Loves MMA. In this one, I'm predicting and talking about the fight between Caolan, Loughran, and Nathan Fletcher. First and foremost, man. First and foremost, brothers. Caolan is a fucking scumbag and a bum. That's all I gotta say. I'm not saying it because I'm a salty person because he's lost me money. No, I've actually betted against the guy every time, um, and I just didn't bet when he fought Pacheco because I think they were both low level fighters. He's 1-2 in the UFC, and he's coming off a loss to Jake Hadley, who just recently got cut from the UFC. So the Caolan kid is ass. He fights like Trevor Peak. Like, he just trying to swing overhands. I mean, I will say he has a big heart. He's very tough. He hasn't been finished. But I think he hasn't been finished because he hasn't ran into fucking someone that dangerous. Taylor Lapilus, who was his best opponent, beat him, and just Taylor Lapilus didn't want to finish him because Taylor Lapilus is just a decision fighter. That's kind of how he is. He got one win in the UFC was against Angel Pacheco. And Angel Pacheco is a guy, if you guys are familiar with him, he fought in the Contender Series, lost his match. He looked like shit, but he just showed to have heart, just like this kid. And UFC gave him a contract, and this kid beats him because Angel Pacheco is just not a good fighter. If you look at this kid's record, man, it's crazy, man. The reason I'm saying he's a scumbag is because his first two opponents have a combined record of 0-70. How is that fucking possible, man? Your first two opponents have a combined record of 0-70. The first guy has a record of 0-31 when he fought him. And if you look at their page, it says that these people have been flagged for throwing fights. Basically, they find, like I said, Cage Warriors. These guys from Cage Warriors come up just like McGregor and a lot of these guys. They come up through that league and promotion because they're sending talent to the UFC, and they just get them a whole bunch of easy fights. It's just guys that get favorable matchups, and then they get to the UFC with an 8-0 record, 10-1 record, 10-0 record, and people think these guys are good. Yeah, the first opponent was literally 0-31. I could show you on my screen right now. Second opponent is 0-39. The third opponent was 3-5 and hasn't fought since. So that lets you know he hasn't fought since, and this was 5 years ago. His fourth opponent was 0-0. His fifth opponent, his fifth win, was against a 1-0 guy. His sixth win, at the time the guy was 5-0, some African kid, this guy is 5-1. He has never fought since. So his first 6 wins, man, are against people that are like questionable opponents, dude. This guy is a fraud, man. Luke Shanks, he fought this guy for his 7th win. Luke Shanks was 10-3. Luke Shanks is 10-4. Has not fought since 2022. So that lets you know, man, this guy is not this guy is not real, dude. He fought a guy for his 8th win that was 9-0. And after he fought him, He's 10-3. So you're telling me this guy was 9-0, and after he fought him, and this dude Loughran is not a good fighter. He hasn't shown me anything. So I'm sorry if it seems like I'm hating on him. I'm not. It's just, dude, the guy has a fraud record. The dude was 9-0 when he fought him, and now the guy is 10-3. So you mean to tell me a guy that's 9-0 goes 1-3 after he fights you? Come on, man. They've been finding this guy favorable matchups. Now he's gotten to the UFC and he's losing. Nathan Fletcher wins this fight via decision or via submission, if you're going to bet it. Nathan Fletcher has fought the higher level competition. They come from the same Cage Warriors promotion, and there's a reason Cage Warriors never match these guys up with one another, because that's not the business they're in. They're in the business of promoting these fighters, building them up, and then selling them off to the UFC while the UFC pays these people in the back door. You know, nobody talks or thinks about that. You think the Cage Warriors just let McGregor go to the UFC for free? UFC paid Cage Warriors. You know, you think Cage Warriors let Paddy Pimblett just go to the UFC for free? No. UFC paid Cage Warriors and owns. They're partners with Cage Warriors. So that's why these guys coming from the same promotion, being in the same weight class, have never fought each other. But now in the UFC, they're fighting each other. The UFC sees that with Nathan Fletcher, they actually have a real prospect. They have a solid fighter. And they want to make sure, since this guy is actively getting better, they want to make sure this guy gets a good chance. You know, and the Loughran guy is already a bum, so let's feed him to a real prospect. That is what's happening. This is a lock bet. Nathan Fletcher wins via submission or decision. Thank you, guys.